Good evening, everyone. It is Wednesday, July 13th. Welcome to the Sports Note on YouTube. I apologize for getting this video up late. I'm officially on vacation from work. When I put the blog up yesterday, it was in the middle of the day. It was actually late in the day at my shift at work, and now coming home on vacation, I've had kind of plumbers in and out all day. I've had some furniture be delivered. So it's been a mess, but definitely wanted to touch on and expand on the blog earlier this week, and also there's going to be two very important updates here regarding a special live edition of the Sports Note coming tomorrow, and then also an update on the Wise Guys show for the month of July coming at the end. But with NBA free agency officially opened. And then also now today NHL free agency opened, hence the Buffalo Sabres cap. This is now what I like to call nutty time, because this is where teams are overpaying for players, signing extensions, trading players, essentially overpaying to get the guy that they want, the All Star. But it's also something where you start to really see where not only battle lines are drawn for bragging rights and supremacy in your conferences and divisions, but it's also something where you start to see where your loyalties lie among your superstars, and among that is a deal that happened over the weekend that we all knew that was going to happen. We just didn't actually know the exact terms, and that's Damian Lillard coming back to the Portland Trail Blazers. And I don't really want to say coming back, but extending his already current contract. See, the thing is that with Lillard right now, he's 31 now. He'll be 32 by the time the season starts, and he's still in the middle of a redone contract that they did just a couple of years ago, but now also signed a 2-year extension that's going to keep him in the City of Roses until 2027. This is also going to mean by the time that contract is really up, I think he's going to be 36 or very, very close to 37, but he's going to be making 63.2 million in the final year of that contract. If that were actually on paper now, you take any incentives or anything, it would be the largest 1 year contract average in the history of the NBA. And quite honestly, it would be very, very close to the largest contract in the history of American sports. Now, let's also be honest. Damian Lillard is probably one of the top 5 players in the NBA right now. Even coming off an injury that forced him to miss a very large portion of last season. As a matter of fact, Dame only played 29 games. The Blazers went through a lot of changeover when the season kind of started. Terry Stotts and the Blazers parted ways. He was replaced with Chauncey Billups, who had moderate success as a coach so far in his young portion of his post-playing career. But it was the first time that after Lillard goes down, it was the first time that the Blazers had missed the playoffs in 2013, even though they'd only been out of the first round. I want to say maybe 2 of those years, although they did actually end up going to the Western Conference Finals one of those years and were beaten by the Golden State Warriors. I believe that was actually during the Cavaliers Warriors 4 straight. That Portland was one of those 4 that the Warriors stepped over to get to the Cavaliers. But there's big things outside of the Lillard contract, but the Lillard contract is the focal point of it, because the other thing that happened is Nike co-founder and chairman Phil Knight and Los Angeles Dodgers partial owner Alan Smolinski, they put in an unsolicited $2 million bid to buy the Portland Trail Blazers, who are currently, according to Forbes magazine, valued at $2.05 billion, which is 13th in the NBA, which is phenomenal for a small market team. Portland is one of the top 10 markets for TV revenue and everything, but it's only got the one major pro sport, and that would be the Blazers, and I'm not counting the MLS because they're starting to pop up everywhere. And I'm sorry, soccer is not going to get over in this country the way that some of the other sports do. No matter how no matter how much this country or the MLS or anything try, and a lot of that has to do with the failures going all the way back to, they tried to actually make it a thing with the World Cup in '94, with the World Cup. Women's soccer is probably more over than men's soccer in this country because of the fact that they've got a national team that can compete on the world level. The men don't. And let's also remember that Dame helped Team USA win gold in Tokyo just last summer after those games were postponed because of the pandemic when they should have taken place in 2020. But this is the idea of Knight and Smolinski and their group putting in this unsolicited bid has to weigh heavily on the mind of current de facto team owner Jody Allen. And I say de facto because Paul Allen, who originally founded Microsoft, passed away back in 2018, and his trust, which the Blazer ownership is a part of, was then created, and Allen is the overseer of that trust. She's indicated at the moment the franchise is not for sale, but let's also be honest, is that she can't keep up with this. Phil Knight went to school at the University of Oregon at Eugene, the Ducks, hence why they have 47,000 uniform combinations, whereas really any other team has, they do have a handful in there, but nowhere near what Oregon has. But it's definitely something that she's got to be thinking of, because also I believe that trust has partial ownership of the Seattle Seahawks. But the way to be able to also keep your franchise this valuable is you have a superstar who wants to stick around, and that's what Dame Lillard is doing, and that's what actually makes this so refreshing in today's NBA. LeBron James has left Cleveland twice, could be coming back a third time. Kevin Durant is the epitome of hired gun, now actually looking for his second trade in the course of 4 years, and I don't want to say quitter because he's still a top 10 player in the NBA. I'm definitely not going to put him top 5, with number one, how injury prone he is, and number two, the way that if he doesn't get his way, he takes his ball and goes home. Ask Russell Westbrook, ask what actually happened in Brooklyn this past year. But this is actually why Lillard staying is such a good thing for the Blazers, because they're not the marquee that they were just a couple of years ago, with where he was paired up with Cleveland native C.J. McCollum, and there was the rumor that McCollum would actually be coming back home to Cleveland, before the Cavaliers went with their youth movement of trying to build everything through the draft with Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Which also continued this year, them getting one of the, I want to say, probably top 5 players in the draft in the middle of the first round, like on the back half of the lottery, like the very back of the lottery. But the Portland also kind of needs to do something, because the Blazers have only have one world championship, and that was 1977, which was Bill Walton's team, or like during his era, and they haven't been to the finals since Clyde Drexler, Jerome Kersey, Buck Williams, Terry Porter, and Kevin Duckworth. Yeah, I actually do remember, because I was a big fan of that team. When they went up against Michael's Bulls during that period, but that was the last time the Blazers have made the finals. And really, if you go back 10, 15, 20 years during the Jailblazers era, this is actually something that Lillard staying in Portland being a success, although not the great success that everyone hoped that they would be, with Lillard being, again, a top three or at the very worst, top five player in the NBA. This is actually something that helps out some of the other small market teams. We've seen Utah, revamp and retool and everything and be among some of the elites, although I think that's coming back down to earth with Rudy Gobert now joining up with Karl Anthony Towns in Minnesota, even though it was a trade. We actually see, Trae Young getting Atlanta back to greatness, even though it's small team, big markets. And the Hawks have never been the end all be all and everything. Orlando trying to go with their youth movements. Cleveland very poised to be among the conference elite. Minnesota really looking to get, into that Golden State, Denver, Phoenix spectrum, get themselves into the conversation with some of the moves that they've made. And I actually did watch the Cavaliers play the Timberwolves last year, and I see just how good and how young the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be. And then you add Rudy Gobert into that equation, they're just going to be that much better. Minnesota's going to be a very good and very scary team if this whole thing gels properly. The other part about the Blazers, however, is something that's a little uncertain, and that would be going out in last month's draft and selecting, can't think of his name right off the top of my head, Shidan Sharp with the 7th overall pick. Shidan Sharp was only 19 years old and never played a single game in college. He committed to Kentucky, indicated he wanted a red shirt, try and be able to get his body better, but the NBA was always his first target and told John Calipari that he did not want to suit up. And then after that first year, he was going to jump straight to the NBA, which we all know Kentucky is really one and done which there's talk that, and I haven't seen the full brunt of the story, but Adam Silver is looking in the next collective bargaining agreement with the NBA Players Association to change the age limits. I actually would love for because at this point, Sharp is about the closest thing to a high school player jumping to the NBA that we've actually seen since they kind of did away with that over 10 years ago. But this is something where they should actually not be allowed. These freshmen should not be allowed to jump straight to the NBA. They should actually have it like the NFL, is you can jump after you're a sophomore, or declare after your junior year. But with the NBA, you don't need 17, 18, 19-year-old kids declaring for the pros. First of all, their bodies aren't developed enough, and secondly, they don't have the skill set. LeBron James is a once-in-a-generation type of exception. And also was Kevin Garnett, but Garnett was not. Garnett needed a few years to be able to develop into an all-world player. The same thing was with Kobe Bryant. People forget that Kobe Bryant's first year or two in the NBA, he was good, but he wasn't great. But this is actually where the Blazers took a huge gamble on Shidan Sharp, and let's actually see if it works out for them, because after just 6 minutes in his first summer league game, he tweaks his shoulder, and then they actually did test and they revealed it's a partial labral tear. But at least the good news for him, and it's very close to what happened in Cleveland with Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns in the NFL, is that Baker Mayfield's a right-handed thrower. The tear was in his left labrum. Same thing with Sharp. He's a right-handed shot. The tear is in his left labrum. So they can actually, sit him down, rest him, evaluate him in about 4 to 6 weeks, see if it's improved. It may not potentially get any worse. The thing is, though, is that if he does need surgery, he's definitely not going to be ready until probably after the All-Star break, because it's a 4 to 6 month rehab. And they're actually hoping that Shidan Sharp can end up being a key component to be able to try and build Portland's core back up, being able to put him and Damian Lillard together, in addition to them going out and sending 3 second-round picks to the Detroit Pistons for Jeremy Grant. That would actually be a very good core. Jeremy Grant's taken a massive step forward in the last couple of years, averaging 19.2 and 22.3 points over the last 2 years. I might actually have the numbers were right, but the years might be backwards. I'm sorry. But the Pistons were amongst the worst in the league, and for him to average 19.2 points, especially where the Pistons were trying to get Cade Cunningham more involved after making him the number one pick last year, and him finishing second in Rookie of the Year voting, which how Evan Mobley of Cleveland did not win that, I still say is absolute highway robbery. If you look at the entire body of work, Evan Mobley was by far the best rookie in the NBA last year. But the Pistons losing Jeremy Grant, who also was on that same team that won gold in Tokyo, going over and now joining up with his Team USA teammate Dame Lillard is only going to make the Blazers better, and it's also going to help accelerate Lillard kind of getting back into playing form after, again, missing all that time last season. So let me know what you guys think. Comment down below, like and subscribe if you enjoy. We're going to be doing a rather special live edition tomorrow. I want to say sometime around either 11 a.m. or noon. We're going to be doing, and I've got tons and tons of notes here and probably expanding. We're going to be doing a live, at least 20, maybe 30 minutes version of the first day of the NHL free agency period, which was absolutely nuts. And there's still talk that there's more focus coming out tonight, especially with Calgary, with the Calgary Flames indicating that perennial all-star Johnny Gaudreau, aka Johnny Hockey, is not re-signing and testing the free agent waters and where he could end up, and some of the teams that are in play for that. My St. Louis Blues making some very, very significant moves, probably being the most active team, and also my Buffalo Sabres making a couple of smaller moves, but kind of taking the same approach as to what the Blazers are. Keep some of your core there, and then go out and bring in some good young talent to surround them with, and let's just see what happens. So that'll actually be coming up again about sometime either in the 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock hour. We'll go live with that, and then we're going to be taping. We're not going to go live, but we're going to be taping the Wise Guys Sports Show. Myself and Mike Martinez, and possibly Alex from Row 7. We're still trying to confirm that. That's going to be taping on Friday night and probably getting posted sometime this weekend, so definitely be on the lookout for that. You'll also see that some of the thumbnails on videos on here have changed. So first of all, they'll make them a little bit easier. So that'll be loaded. We're very, very close to having a Wise Guys logo. We're gonna get some of the thumbnails attached. So those are a little bit easier for you guys to find going forward. But again, let me know what you guys think about what's going on with the Blazers, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning, and we will definitely see you this weekend with the Wise Guys. Take care.